What if the story we've been told was just the beginning, and the true legacy lay in the hands of someone silenced? We all search for truth, a compass in a world that feels increasingly chaotic. But what if the deepest truth, the one that truly liberates, has been intentionally hidden for centuries? And what if the key to that truth rested with a woman whom official history tried to erase? Prepare to unravel a mystery that defies millennia of dogma, revealing the transformative power of the knowledge she left behind. An ancient female hand, perhaps adorned with simple rings, cradles Jesus' bloodied feet, not on the cross but in a moment of profound intimacy and mutual understanding. Her eyes, filled with sorrow yet radiating a serene, knowing depth, seem to guard a secret the world isn't yet ready to hear. In the heart of an ancient land where faith and power clashed, a revolutionary figure emerged. Jesus of Nazareth, Master who spoke of a kingdom not of this world, of a truth that set people free. But by his side there was another, whose influence was as profound as his own, yet whose voice was silenced. She wasn't merely a follower. She was the guardian of knowledge that challenged the very structure of nascent power. As the Church consolidated its authority, an alternative truth, more intimate and personal, was seen as a threat. And Mary Magdalene was the embodiment of that threat. Why does this matter now? Because in a fragmented world, where the search for meaning is more intense than ever, Mary Magdalene's teachings offer a path to self-discovery and spiritual freedom. That resonates deeply with contemporary anxieties and hopes. Imagine a world where the history you know is just one version, carefully edited, of a much larger truth. Think of the Matrix, where reality is a construct, and the red pill offers a glimpse of truth, however uncomfortable. Mary Magdalene's story is our red pill. For centuries, she was portrayed as a repentant sinner, a secondary figure, conveniently, relegated to the margins of the Christian narrative. But what if that image was a smokescreen, a distraction to conceal her true role? The discovery of a new fragment of ancient text, a parchment worn by time, with calligraphy dating back to the early centuries of Christianity, begins to pull back that curtain. It's not a canonical gospel, but something more intimate, more personal. A letter, a diary. Whatever it is, it contradicts the established narrative about her, suggesting a connection and an understanding that official history worked hard to erase. This text suggests that Mary Magdalene was not merely a disciple, but the recipient of esoteric teachings directly from Jesus, teachings not shared with the other apostles. She understood what others could not. This isn't mere academic speculation. It's a revelation that shakes the foundations of traditional theology. She wasn't just a passive listener, she was a co-creator, an interpreter, a guardian of wisdom that went beyond parables and miracles. This wisdom, known as gnosis, wasn't about blind faith, but about direct intuitive knowledge of God, the inner divinity, the divine spark residing within each of us. The hidden world Mary Magdalene inhabited operated on the premise that true salvation didn't come from external rituals or obedience to authority, but from profound self-discovery. It was a path to personal enlightenment, where each individual was their own temple, their own priest. These teachings were transmitted in secret circles, often veiled in mystery, because they directly challenged emerging power structures. The idea that divinity resides within each of us, and that we can access it directly without intermediaries, was an existential threat to any institution seeking to control access to the divine. Think of the early church as a rising startup, and Gnosticism as a disruptive competitor, offering a much more radical and liberating product. The contemporary protagonist, a historian or archaeologist, upon encountering this artifact, feels an irresistible compulsion. It's not just the thrill of discovery, but a profound resonance, as if Mary Magdalene's voice is calling across the centuries. This isn't just an academic discovery, it's a journey into the soul of humanity, an invitation to reevaluate everything. We thought we knew about faith, power, and our own potential. The search for Mary Magdalene is, in fact, a search for ourselves. The parchment, brittle with age, whispered secrets that echoed across millennia, pulling our protagonist, Dr. Evelyn Reed, deeper into a labyrinth of forgotten truths. Her initial excitement gave way to a profound sense of responsibility, a realization that this wasn't just an academic pursuit. It was a spiritual imperative. The text, tentatively identified as a fragment of a previously unknown Gospel of Mary, spoke of intimate dialogues between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, not about miracles or parables for the masses, but about the very nature of existence, the illusion of the material world and the divine spark within. It was a roadmap to a different kind of salvation, one found not through external intermediaries, but through an inner awakening. This was the gnosis, a direct, experiential knowledge of the divine, a concept so radical it threatened to dismantle centuries of established doctrine. Evelyn's quest began with a journey, not just through ancient texts but across continents. Her first stop was Magdala, on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, the supposed birthplace of Mary Magdalene. The ruins, excavated only recently, offered tantalizing glimpses into a vibrant first-century Jewish town. As Evelyn walked among the more ancient stones, she imagined Mary Magdalene, not as the repentant sinner of traditional law, but as a woman of intellect and spiritual depth, perhaps even a wealthy patron who recognized Jesus' true message. The air itself seemed to hum with untold stories. From Magdala, her path led her to the south of France, a region steeped in legends of Mary Magdalene's post-resurrection life. While dismissed by mainstream historians as myth, Evelyn found herself drawn to the ancient churches and caves, sensing a deeper truth embedded in the folklore. Could these legends be echoes of a hidden lineage, a secret transmission of knowledge passed down through generations? Her journey wasn't solitary. Evelyn sought out those who had dedicated their lives to the study of Gnosticism, often marginalized by mainstream academia. Dr. Aris Thorne, a reclusive scholar known for his controversial theories on early Christian heresies, became her reluctant mentor. Thorne, with his piercing gaze and encyclopedic knowledge of ancient languages, revealed the true scope of the Gnostic worldview. He explained the concept of the pleroma, the divine fullness, the true realm of God, from which humanity originated. And then the chilling counterpoint, the demiurge, a lesser imperfect creator god who fashioned the material world, trapping divine sparks, human souls, within it. This wasn't the benevolent God of the Old Testament, but a flawed entity, responsible for the suffering and illusion of our physical reality. The world you see, Thorne intoned, is a prison, and Mary Magdalene held the key to escape. The deeper Evelyn delved, the more obstacles she encountered. Mainstream academics dismissed her findings as fringe theories, fueled by a desire to sensationalize. Religious institutions, wary of anything that challenged their authority, viewed her research with suspicion, even hostility. She received anonymous threats, cryptic warnings to abandon her quest. Was it just the usual academic infighting, or was there something more sinister at play, a modern-day echo of the ancient suppression? Doubt gnawed at her. Was she chasing shadows, or was she truly on the verge of uncovering a truth too profound, too dangerous for the world to handle? Yet every time she considered turning back, the words from the ancient parchment, the wisdom attributed to Mary Magdalene, pulled her forward. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. The Gnostic deep dive continued. Evelyn learned about the importance of self-knowledge, know thyself, as the primary path to salvation. Mary Magdalene, according to the texts, emphasized that the kingdom of God was not an external place or a future event, but an inner state, accessible through gnosis. She taught that the divine feminine principle was crucial for spiritual balance, a concept largely absent from patriarchal religious structures. This wasn't just theology, it was a radical redefinition of human potential, empowering individuals to connect directly with the divine without the need for priests, rituals, or institutions. It was a message of liberation, a spiritual red pill that promised to awaken humanity from its slumber. The more Evelyn understood, the more she realized that Mary Magdalene's teachings weren't just about ancient history. They were a blueprint for a different way of living, a way that resonated deeply with the modern yearning for authenticity and freedom. The quest was no longer just about finding answers, it was about understanding a legacy that could change everything. The journey through ancient texts and sacred sites had transformed Evelyn, but nothing could have prepared her for the plot twist that lay hidden in plain sight, a revelation so profound it threatened to unravel everything she, and indeed the world, thought they knew. It wasn't just a text or a series of teachings, it was a lineage, a secret transmission of knowledge passed down through the centuries, encoded in art, architecture, and even the very rituals of seemingly unrelated mystical traditions. The legacy of Mary Magdalene wasn't merely a message, it was a living, breathing path to gnosis, carefully preserved by those who understood its true power. Evelyn, guided by cryptic clues within the newly discovered Gospel of Mary fragment, and Dr. Thorne's unparalleled expertise, began to see unexpected connections. The geometric patterns in medieval cathedrals, the symbolism in Renaissance paintings, the esoteric practices of groups like the Cathars in southern France, and even the Knights Templar, all seemed to echo the Gnostic principles she was uncovering. It was as if Mary Magdalene's wisdom, like a hidden river, had flowed beneath the surface of official history, occasionally bubbling up in unexpected places. The Cathars, brutally suppressed by the Church in the 13th century, spoke of a dualistic universe, a good God and an evil creator, strikingly similar to the Gnostic concept of the pleroma and the demiurge. Their reverence for the feminine divine and their belief in direct spiritual experience over hierarchical authority suddenly made chilling sense. Were they direct inheritors of Mary Magdalene's hidden teachings? This realization presented Evelyn with a profound moral conflict. The truth she was unearthing was not just academically controversial, it was existentially disruptive. To reveal, it would be to challenge the very foundations of Western civilization, to question the authority of institutions that had shaped human belief for millennia. Could she be responsible for such a seismic shift? The weight of this knowledge pressed down on her, a burden as heavy as the ancient stones she had studied. She grappled with the ethical dilemma. Was it better to preserve the comfortable illusion, or to shatter it with a truth that might cause widespread chaos and disbelief? This wasn't just about historical accuracy, it was about the spiritual well-being of millions. As Evelyn wrestled with her conscience, the tension escalated. The anonymous threats she had received intensified, moving from veiled warnings to direct confrontations. She found herself being followed, her research materials tampered with. It became clear that powerful forces, whether religious zealots, shadowy secret societies, or simply those who benefited from the status quo, were actively working to suppress her findings. This wasn't just about protecting a historical narrative, it was about maintaining control over human consciousness. The stakes were no longer just academic, they were personal, even dangerous. Evelyn realized she wasn't merely discovering history, she was becoming a part of it, a modern-day torchbearer for a truth that had been hunted for centuries. The concept of the demiurge took on a terrifying new dimension. If the world we inhabit was indeed created by a flawed lesser deity, then the very structures of power, the systems of control, might be reflections of that flawed creation. The suppression of Mary Magdalene's teachings wasn't just about theological differences. It was about maintaining a system designed to keep humanity ignorant of its true divine nature, to prevent the divine sparks from realizing their potential and escaping the prison of material existence. This wasn't just a historical conspiracy, it was a cosmic one. Evelyn's understanding of the world and her place in it was irrevocably altered. The wait-what moments came fast and furious, each new connection, each unearthed symbol, each whispered legend, reinforcing the terrifying and exhilarating possibility that the world as we knew it was a carefully constructed illusion. And Mary Magdalene held the key to its deconstruction. The stage was set for a confrontation, not just with external forces, but with the ultimate truth itself. The escalating threats and the profound weight of her discoveries propelled Evelyn into a final desperate push. She knew she was close, that the scattered pieces of Mary Magdalene's legacy were about to coalesce into a singular, earth-shattering truth. The climax of her quest led her to a remote, forgotten monastery nestled deep in the mountains of the Middle East, a place rumored to house a hidden library, a repository of texts deemed too dangerous for the world. It was here, in a dusty subterranean chamber, lit only by the flickering beam of her flashlight, that Evelyn found it. Not a single manuscript, but a collection of codices, carefully preserved, bound in ancient leather, their pages filled with a script she now recognized as a unique dialect of Coptic, interspersed with symbols she had seen in the Cathar ruins and Templar iconography. This was the last secret of Mary Magdalene. As Evelyn meticulously translated the texts, a revelation of staggering proportions unfolded. Maria Maddalena, the apostle to the apostles, was not merely a recipient of esoteric teachings. She was the designated spiritual successor, the one chosen by Jesus to carry forward the deepest, most transformative aspects of his message. The texts detailed her role not as a leader of an earthly church, but as the guardian of the gnosis, the direct, experiential knowledge of the divine within. The greatest discovery of all was that Jesus' message, as understood by Mary Magdalene, was not about external salvation through sacrifice, but about internal liberation through self-knowledge. He taught that the kingdom of God was not a place to be entered after death, but a state of consciousness to be realized in this life, a recognition of the divine spark within each individual. Mary Magdalene, in these texts, was portrayed as the one who truly understood this, embodying the unity of spirit and matter, the sacred feminine principle that had been systematically suppressed. This ultimate revelation triggered an existential crisis within Evelyn. If salvation was an internal journey, if the divine resided within each person, then what was the purpose of external religious authority, of dogma, of ritual? The very foundations of her own upbringing, of Western civilization, seemed to crumble. How could humanity cope with such a truth? The knowledge was liberating yet terrifying. It demanded a complete re-evaluation of history, of faith, of self. It meant that the fall of humanity wasn't a punishment for sin, but a forgetting of its true nature, a succumbing to the illusion created by the demiurge. The text spoke of a return to the pleroma, not as an afterlife, but as an awakening to one's inherent divinity in the here and now. In this moment of profound realization, Evelyn faced her moment of choice. The forces that had pursued her, the shadowy figures who sought to maintain the old order, closed in. She could choose to destroy the codices, to bury the truth once more, ensuring her own safety and preserving the comforting illusions of the world. Or she could choose to reveal it, to unleash a truth that would undoubtedly cause chaos, outrage, and a fundamental re-evaluation of human history and spirituality. The decision was hers, and it echoed the choice Mary Magdalene herself must have faced millennia ago: to protect a sacred truth, or to share it, knowing the immense cost. Evelyn looked at the ancient pages, then at the entrance to the chamber, where the faint sounds of approaching footsteps grew louder. The choice was clear. The truth once found could not be unlearned. It had to be shared. The climax wasn't just about finding the texts. It was about Evelyn's transformation from a detached academic to a fierce advocate for a suppressed truth. She understood now that the woman who held Jesus' feet wasn't just comforting him. She was receiving the ultimate teaching, the secret that would change everything. The tension was palpable, the air thick with the weight of centuries of hidden knowledge. The final confrontation wasn't with an antagonist in a physical sense, but with the overwhelming implications of the truth itself. The knowledge she now possessed was a fire, and she had to decide whether to let it consume her or to use it to illuminate the world. The dust settled, both literally in the ancient chamber and metaphorically in Evelyn's mind. The choice had been made, and the path forward, though fraught with peril, was clear. The final confrontation wasn't a battle of fists, but a battle of ideas, a deliberate act of defiance against centuries of suppression. Evelyn, with the invaluable codices now secured, understood that her mission was to bring Mary Magdalene's true legacy to the world, not as a historical curiosity, but as a living, transformative truth. The resolution wasn't about finding a key, neat ending, but about initiating a new beginning, a global conversation that would challenge the very fabric of belief. The impact of this knowledge, once unleashed, was immediate and profound. Evelyn, now a reluctant public figure, presented her findings to a world hungry for answers, yet resistant to change. Her revelations sparked a global debate, dividing scholars, theologians, and spiritual seekers. Traditional institutions, initially dismissive, found themselves on the defensive, forced to address the uncomfortable questions raised by the newly translated texts. But beyond the academic and religious circles, the message resonated deeply with individuals. People disillusioned with rigid dogmas and seeking a more personal connection to the divine found solace and empowerment in Mary Magdalene's teachings. The idea that the kingdom of God was within, that salvation was a journey of self-discovery rather than external adherence, offered a liberating alternative to conventional narratives. This wasn't just ancient history. It was a blueprint for personal and collective transformation in the 21st century. The contemporary impact of Mary Magdalene's gnosis is undeniable. In a world grappling with existential questions, environmental crises, and a pervasive sense of disconnection, her message of inner divinity and unity offers a powerful antidote. It speaks to the rising tide of spiritual but not religious movements, to the growing interest in mindfulness and self-awareness, and to the ongoing quest for gender equality within spiritual traditions. Her emphasis on the sacred feminine, long suppressed, finds a powerful echo in modern feminist movements and the re-evaluation of patriarchal structures. The woman who held Jesus' feet becomes a symbol of empowerment, a guide for those seeking to reclaim their own spiritual authority. Yet, as with all profound truths, questions remain unanswered, inviting continued reflection. If the divine spark resides within each of us, what then is the nature of evil? How do we reconcile the material world with the concept of the demiurge? And what does true liberation look like in a society still bound by external systems of control? These are not questions with easy answers, but rather invitations to a deeper, ongoing exploration. The journey of gnosis is not a destination, but a continuous process of awakening. The call to action is clear. The knowledge Mary Magdalene left behind is not meant to be passively consumed, but actively embodied. The viewer is invited to embark on their own quest for self-knowledge, to question established narratives, and to seek the divine within. This might involve exploring ancient texts, engaging in contemplative practices, or simply fostering a deeper connection to their own intuition and inner wisdom. The documentary concludes not with a definitive statement, but with an open invitation, a challenge to the audience to become active participants in their own spiritual evolution. The final image is not of Evelyn, but of a diverse group of people, from all walks of life, meditating, studying, engaging in thoughtful discussion, their faces illuminated by a quiet understanding. The camera pans out, showing them connected, yet each on their own unique path. The voiceover, perhaps Evelyn's, offers a final, poignant thought. The story of Mary Magdalene is not just about a woman from the past. It is about the potential within each of us. The truth she guarded, the knowledge she embodied is not lost. It waits patiently for you to discover it. The journey of gnosis is not over. It has only just begun. The screen fades to black, leaving the viewer with a sense of wonder, a spark of curiosity, and the profound realization that the most revolutionary truths are often found not in grand pronouncements, but in the quiet whispers of a forgotten past, waiting to be heard.